In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to use your brain, how to use the full potential of your brain. Students, let me tell you, I've got my advanced level students who memorize a book like this, right, in just 20 hours time, in just 40 hours time. They go ahead and memorize every page in it, every paragraph in it. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the basics, the foundational secrets of how this is possible. So how do we activate our brain? What are the processes? Let's dive into it. You see, firstly, you need to understand that the brain is incredibly powerful. And when people tell you that human beings use only 5% or 10% of the brain, that's not true. In fact, I was talking about it for quite some time, that we use only 5-10% of our brain. But then today I learned that that's not true at all, because human beings use 100% of the brain. But then how we use it determines our level of success. How do we use our brain? How do we maximize the usage? Now, the 3 steps that you can start taking today are: number 1, do not use or do not underestimate the power of negative statements. Now, you see, whenever you say, I can't do math, or that subject is boring, I don't like myself, I hate myself, I'm not capable of doing it. The moment you say these sentences have an effect on your brain, and they stop your brain from using its potential. Now you see, they stop your mind from using the brain's potential. Okay, so these sentences will stop you from moving ahead. That's number 1. And number 2 is, you need to understand that the brain is capable of processing 110 bits of attention per second. And when you are talking with other people, or when you are listening to somebody else, scientists tell us today that the brain uses about 60 bits of information per second when you are listening to someone. And now you see, let's say your teacher is explaining something to you and you're listening to the teacher. So you're using about 60 bits of attention per second. And at the same time, if you are talking to somebody else, now that also demands 60 bits of attention. So 60 plus 60 is 120. And the brain processes only 110 bits of attention per second. So you either listen to the teacher or your friend. You can't do both at the same time. And if you're choosing to listen to the friend, you miss out on the concept the teacher is explaining. And that is why whenever you are engaged in something and you bring 110 bits of attention to that activity, you get into a state what psychologists call the flow. I call it the peak performance state. Now you see, how do you get into that state? Because once you get into that state, I've seen students absorb material like a sponge, like a machine. All right, just imagine the capacity where, you know, your friends take your textbook, open the book and give you the page number, and you start explaining everything that's there on the page. That's possible. My advanced level students do it. And these are the basic things my advanced level students do. They understand the power of negative self-talk, right? It takes away power. It blocks your brain. You will not be able to use your brain to its maximum potential. So they do not use negative language. That's number 1. And number 2, the focus is on using 110 bits of attention per second on any particular activity. And to do that, I'm going to give you 2 more tips, right? Tip number 2 is, you need to make sure that whatever activity that you are engaging in, you need to make sure that it's not way too easy or way too difficult. Because if it's way too easy, right, you get bored. The brain doesn't like it. You get bored and you snap out. You're like, no, I don't want to do this. Or if it is way too tough, your brain doesn't like it either. So you're not going to do it. So you need to strike a balance there. Whenever you are studying, let's say, mathematics, and it's way too tough for you, so step down a little. Solve previous year's concepts, right? Understand the fundamentals and then start building on it. You directly go to the top floor because, if you haven't experienced the floors below the top floor, right? If you have missed those classes, if you have bunked those classes, or for some reason you did not study those chapters, those concepts, and you directly want to go to the top floor, you have to step down and experience or learn the other concepts. So it shouldn't be too tough, or it shouldn't be too simple. Strike a balance. That's one of the criteria to get into that peak performance state called the flow. And number 3 is make sure there are no distractions, disturbances. It's believed that, let's say you're watching reels and you are distracted because you watch some funny videos and all that. To bring your attention back to your task, it takes about 25 minutes. You lose out on time there. So please don't do that. Don't do that. Make sure you have this distraction-free zone, absolutely distraction-free. No cell phone, no other books, nothing. Only the books related to that day's study, your book, your pen, and you do your job. I finished writing my 240 pages thesis in just 100 days. So I know this stuff works, but then will you follow these simple tips? That's left to you. Start with these tips, and if you need more help, I'm there to help you. Click on the link below, register for my workshops, and all I can tell you is life will never be the same again. Take charge, and I'll see you soon.